Got a question for you. What is the simplest, easiest piano exercise you could do for finger independence? I'm going to show you the answer to that question in this video. We'll also talk in more detail about other factors that you're going to need to know as well. But if you're someone who wants control, think of it that way, more control of your fingers, and it's kind of the key to unlocking high-level technique, then you're going to want to watch this live stream. Anyway, this is Warren from Rhapsody Piano Studio. Thank you so much for joining me, for watching this video. This is a live stream that happens every Saturday afternoon. So today's topic is the simplest and easiest finger independent exercise. And if I had to give one exercise to do to tackle this idea of finger independence, it would definitely be this exercise I'm about to show you in a bit. Let's talk about what finger independence is, and then you might need to do something like this. I want to make a disclaimer that if you are a beginner or if you're new to piano, I definitely wouldn't recommend doing this whatsoever. I just don't think it's a good idea to do this in the beginning. This is some really high-level stuff actually. It's going to take a long time to develop, and it might suck all the joy out of your playing. So definitely in the beginning, don't go anywhere near this. This is not a video for beginners, but if you want to, I'm just telling you to proceed with. But my recommendation, if you're a beginner or if you're new, you can try. If it doesn't work for you, then you got your answer. But just stick with easier music and just try to get a little bit better. Anyway, this whole finger independent stuff, you'll develop it over time. This is just kind of a shortcut. So, what is finger independence exactly? And I'm not going to go into really big detail about this. I'm not a doctor. I don't really care too much about anatomy, like definitions and stuff like that too. So the quickest definitions are, it's the basically just the idea to be able to control each finger, You can think of it as being able to play with relaxation, and this is due to better coordination. It's better playing mechanics as well, just like the secret to good technique. It's what else is it? It definitely is not finger strength. I don't think there really is such a thing as finger strength. There is grip strength. There's no finger strength because there's no muscle in each fingertip. So whenever I hear people or musicians or even teachers saying like, let's build up your finger strength, there's no such thing as that. By the way, if you want to get a better grip strength, it's forearms. That's what it is. I know enough that to know that if you build up your forearms, you'll have stronger fingers. All right. And the last thing I want to say about this is that this is not really about finger independence, but when you do this exercise, I just want to going on the fourth finger topic. It's injury prevention, because if you play with proper playing mechanics and by the way, and also teachers. I also personally knew pianists like this as well, like where they were not able to play the music that they wanted in the way that they wanted because they had an injury due to over practice. I'm pretty sure the tension and all that had a lot to do as well. That's another subject on its own. Over practice, they got to the point where they suffered an injury and there was nothing they could do about it. And it was just pretty much an injury they had to do for the rest. They had to deal with for the rest of life. They saw every doctor imaginable, and they all told them like, "There's nothing we can do to fix this. Even surgery's not going to fix it." That's kind of a scary notion, right? And they just had to basically find a way to play in a way where to minimize the injury. That really sucks in my opinion. But that might be another thing you want to think about in the future. All right, just it prevents injury, and it's also the secret to playing with a beautiful sound. They don't mention that at all, really. Not from what I've heard. A good sound. Think of it this way: it's almost like you're producing your sound with your body. It's kind of like a boxer, right? I love boxing. I love sports metaphors. So just stay with me here real quick. If a boxer wants to generate full power, full force through his punch, he doesn't just swing with his arms. There's some people who actually do that, still knock people out, which is scary, right? They want to generate full force is because they're swinging from their hips, from their whole body, and it's you're transferring all that energy, all that power from the bottom of their heel all the way into their body, all the way through their fist. So it's like they're using their whole entire body. Hey, what's up, Christian? Thanks for joining me today. If you have a question, I'll do a quick Q&A for anything that's on your mind at the end of this live stream. So in a way, with the whole finger relaxation, the independence thing, it's like all the energy is being generated from your body, right? It's going through your arm all the way to your arm, down your shoulders, to your arm, to your wrist. If your hand is really tight, guess what happens to that energy? Now I'm just using energy. I can't think of a better word here, so just stay with me with that. So it's coming all the way here to your wrist, and if your hand is too tight, guess what? Same thing with your shoulders. If your shoulders are too tight as well, if it is not relaxed, then it's going to be really harsh. So that's kind of the secret when people talk about how come some pianists play really beautifully. It's because they're not preventing any of that energy from being kind of cut off from any point in their body, like little tension. And then also this might be if you're a little younger, right? Or if you're someone obsessed with technique, kind of like I am, it will help you play faster as well. So let's talk about when should you study this, right? And I would say it's when you're beginning to play a lot of advanced repertoire, or if you want to prep for playing advanced repertoire music. Let's say maybe you even got to a point where you're note reading and you're playing well, right? So you actually, I'm not talking about physical playing, but you're accurate with the notes and the rhythm, but you feel like your playing is kind of stiff and it hasn't come along. Then I think that's when you should address it a bit. And yeah, the whole posture thing, like I said, your hands are just stiff in general. Sometimes you can tell this if you try to play like 5 keys at one time. I have some students who have this issue. It doesn't really bother me, but sometimes they want to fix it, right? They play each one of these fingers, right? Some of the keys kind of stick together, like they're playing like more than one finger at a time because they don't have control of their fingertips, right? Especially the fourth finger, right? But yeah, that's when I would sort of deal with it. I would bring it up only if the student is kind of has the same personality, and same thing with you as well. All right. That's basically it for the background on finger independence. And I do want to say that personally in my life, I don't think I've ever really studied this at all. I'm not saying that's a benefit. Maybe my technique would have improved faster. I have no idea, but I'm just telling you, I've never done this, but I can do this, is what I'm saying. So I think if you can't do this, if you're trying to be advanced, it's a problem. Yeah, so this little exercise I'm about to show you, even the advanced stuff I will show you, by the way, advanced finger independence exercises next week, I'll show you. I've never done any of those either, so it's something that I was just able to do. It was the first thing I was tested on when I got into my college program, my college piano professor in school. This is It's very simple. Let me show you. It's simple and it's easy in concept. It's the easiest exercise that I'll show you, but I'm telling you, this is not really easy to do at all. And coming from someone who can do this quite easily, I understand the pain that students go through when they can't do this, right? So you basically, let me see if I can find a good angle. All right, you take all your 5 fingers, and I'm looking at my hand here. Each one of your fingers, your hand, this is going to be really important, and I'm telling you, this is really difficult to do. Put your hands, each finger. Play. I'll do the other hand so you can see my other fingers too. But let's say we're starting from the pinky. When you play it, you gotta make sure your hand and your other fingers don't move at all, except for that finger that you're using. So if I go from my pinky, see all my other fingers, it's like my hand is completely still, right? And go down to the 4th finger, to the 3rd finger, 2nd finger, all that. My hands, but you even see from here, you can hear my thumb moving. Kind of look like a statue, right? That's finger independence. It's super hard to do. My teacher actually, this is what he tested me on, okay? Let me show you my other hand so you can see from the tone. Same thing here, it's kind of a weird angle. I mean, there's going to be some movement, but it's very minimal. But it's like you just have control over your fingertips. That's basically the exercise in a nutshell. All right. And also, I have to say, when I'm playing this, I'm not stiff at all. I'm like, I'm like totally relaxed. There's really no tension. Like, there's a split amount of tension because if you want to play the keys, you have to be like tense for a split second. The whole tension thing is another topic by itself. But when I'm playing, there's no tension at all. It's like I'm just resting my hand on like a tabletop. It's kind of, I'm just doing this, right? So this, in theory, it's really easy to do. This is very difficult, right? Super difficult. So this is basically the only only exercise you need to do for the rest of your life if you want to get this mastered, right? Now the problem with this is that it could get incredibly boring if you just stick to this 5-finger repetition. So a lot of different things I want to recommend if you want to apply this. So you can play it in all the keys, every key imaginable. So you can do C major, C minor, right? You can do all the minor keys, right? In here. Huh. What is interesting? Alright, I'm sorry, I think I got cut off. Alright, here we go. Alright. Things I want to recommend if you want to apply this. You can play it all the keys. Okay, cool. Sorry. I didn't miss anything. Alright. Sorry for that interruption. So basically you take it as many different patterns as possible. That's the key to kind of making sure you don't go insane with this, right? It's just you keep it fresh, you know, you do different things and you won't get bored, all right? That's the best way I can put it. So let me go through all the different variations. Again, sorry about that little interruption. Let me go through all the different variations you can do with this as well. And also another thing too is like, this is gonna take a really, if you really struggle with this and you want to get it under control, it's gonna take you a really long time. And I don't actually know how long it's gonna take you. Like, I don't want to really keep you from trying this, but what if it took years? You know what I mean? A complete beginner, I think to really handle this, they would have to do something like this every single day, probably for years at a time. So again, if you get turned off by that, don't try it out. I mean, you'll find a time where it's appropriate to do it and it won't take you nearly as long, but potentially that's how long it could take. It's like if you take a little hammer and day by day everyone saw you, you know, and they're walking by, there's this giant boulder. Let's think of it like as the size of your room, unless your room is a mansion, all right, but it's the size of your room, and they just see you with this little tiny axe or a little hammer, and you're just hitting one spot over and over again, right? And you do this every day, and you don't know when it's gonna break, but you know the whole thing's gonna break. So the problem is you don't know when that time's gonna come, okay? In any case, Christian, I've always wondered why younger pianists would play a note and lift all their fingers as I sung on you. Yeah, so that's kind of, yeah, another thing people recommend is lifting your fingers really high above the keys. That's a good point. Thanks for bringing that up, Christian. Generally, I never really do this at all. I think it's weird, and honestly, when I lift up each finger, I don't really know what purpose that serves, really. I'm sure I might be able to come up with an explanation, but that could be kind of like finger independence if you want to think of it that way. But to me, I much prefer having contact with the keys because I just don't like that. It's just one of my philosophies. It's just minimal movement. Like you want to make the sound in as minimal movement as possible. Okay. But yeah, thanks for that. That's a good point. All right. So what did we go through? Major, minor keys. I'll get through all these variations. You could also do more than one finger at a time. You can hold down, like I'm holding down my first and third finger right now, and you're playing the other keys. This is super difficult, trust me. It's not easy at all, even though I can do it easily. I could hold down 2 and 4, these two keys, right? And I'm playing all the ones in between, right? You could do that. There's a lot of different combinations you can do. So even with that, you can go through many different combinations. So you can do 1 and 5. Right? You can do 1 and 2. Right? 5 and 4. 5 and 2. I think I'm making my point here. So even with that, and you can do it with each hand, maybe separately, maybe together. Even together, maybe those combinations get even out of control. It's just whatever you want to do with it. You can actually do it with scales and arpeggios, right? So we're playing a scale, and you're literally just getting to the next position and going down, right? I mean, you don't practice one motion like that, but it's like positioning, right? Same thing with arpeggios, right? Sorry. That way you kind of get used to like your hands spread apart as well, because the bad thing about this type of exercise is not really realistic because we don't just go from 5 finger position to 5 finger position unless you're a complete beginner, right? You can do different rhythms. Different combinations, right? I can reverse it. Triplets. I mean, you could do it this way till the cows come home. I mean, you could probably take like a whole like entire journal, and the options could be limitless. So that's my approach to this. If I wanted to do it, you want to make sure you don't get bored. What else? And by the way, that's only just one finger at a time. You could do the same thing where you hold multiple keys. Right? I'm telling you, this is some really tricky stuff, even though it looks easy. No, sorry, I do not know how to play a field. Freestyle jazz. Appreciate the question, but yeah. The other thing too is you can actually apply this towards the actual music you're working on, right? So if you play something like For Elise, right? So at least the first bar. This is actually perfect because it's within that. So I'm looking at my fingers here, making sure my hand doesn't move, right? See how close they are? Right? So you can literally play this and practice it with the music that you're actually working on too. So there's a lot of different applications you can do with this. Last thing too, maybe you don't even need a piano if you're just at the tabletop. It's kind of like Christian with the finger lifting that you mentioned, going up like that. I mean, you could if you want. I don't know. Personally, I don't do this myself. But if you don't have a piano and you want to practice it, same thing. You may take like 2 fingers and hold it. I'll hold these 2, and you try to play the other ones. Trust me, this is more difficult than it seems. Like 2 and 4. I'll hold 2 and 4, do 1, 3, 5. Or maybe actually lift the other fingers. Here we go. You could do that. You could do blocks. There's another one that I just came up with. It's not even on my list, but it's a lot of stuff. Like stone fingers. I would love stone fingers. Probably knock someone out like that. So yeah, that is basically it. This is the most basic version of this independence exercise that I showed you, and I showed you the applications to doing it in different ways. So to wrap things up, just a word of caution. If you do choose to do this, if you don't have any experience with this, start as small as possible, short sections as possible. Don't do more than what's capable at one time. You don't want to hurt yourself. Not even hurt. Even if you don't hurt yourself, if you overdo it, you're going to be practicing with a lot of tension, which is really bad as well. Okay. And just to summarize the points with this whole finger independence thing, it's the key to a good technique is basically just to control the fingertips. It's not for beginners, okay? It's actually, I don't know how necessary it is from someone who's never really had to do it. If this really interests you, go for it. It's fine. Again, be patient because it can take a long, long time. And when I say long, long time, I might be saying like, a few years to really get to this level. This is like one of the keys to mastery, which I'm trying to show you here. So if you want to master something, that's not gonna be done in one night, or even a month, or even a year. If you get lucky, you might be able to do it for a year. Another thing I want to mention: some people are naturally good at this. I do have some students. I don't apply for every student that I see. Some students are really just from the first lesson they have total control of their fingertips, right? And the hand is like no tension at all. So the playing, they don't really have any stiffness, and the sound isn't harsh. But that's very rare. Okay, not everyone is just a total natural like that. Most of my students, they begin to develop it over time just by watching my video tutorials. So again, you don't need to do this. Because over time, if you study enough, if you watch enough high quality piano videos, people playing with correct posture, you'll start to internalize it. So you'll just kind of learn, and you'll be able to do it without really even trying. So, it's up to you. 2 different paths you can take. You either do it consciously or develop it over time. All right? Anyways, that's it for today's video. If you have any questions, now's the time to ask. Otherwise, I'll let you know that my next live stream, I'm going to continue on this topic, and I will show you some advanced finger exercises. This is for more advanced stuff. If you want way more crazier, difficult, exercises than the one that I've shown you here. I'll demonstrate some of the exercises you can do, and I'll also show you just pretty much the one book full of these advanced exercises that it's endless. It's pages and pages and pages and pages of this material, just doing 5-finger exercises and all these different patterns. If that's interesting to you, if you're, I would say this is definitely for advanced pianists or maybe like late intermediate. If that's something that interests you, make sure you watch next week's live stream because we'll be demonstrating that for you guys. All right. Anyways, that's it for today. Thanks for watching this video. If you got something out of it, please like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. Hope to see you guys next time. Yeah, no problem. Thanks for checking out this. Thanks for checking out the live stream. And just a reminder, feel free to ask any questions you want on here, or hit me up on comment section. Anything. Your question might make it into a topical. Topical. It might make it into a topic on these live streams. So if I have enough material, happy practicing. Have an amazing weekend. Peace.